Let's revisit paper beads one more time. I mentioned before that I was going to buy one of those paper bead roller tools, you know. I found one on Etsy I had my eye on for $5. And then someone pointed out in a comment on my last paper bead video that there was a YouTube video that showed someone making their own paper bead roller. Okay, well that got my attention. So I went over to the channel and watched the video and decided that I could probably do that because I already had all the stuff that she used. So, and I'm not going to make one to show you because she does a great tutorial and you can just go watch it on her channel. Her name is, what is her name? Rose Princess. I'll put her link down in the description so that you can go watch her make some her own bead rolling tool things. I only did one thing a little different than she did, and I will tell you what that is. And all you'll need, you may already have all these things, a toothpick at the very least. A toothpick will work. That's what this one's made out of. For bigger ones, you just need some of these whatever size skewers or dowels, little skinny dowels. You know, obviously the bigger it is, the bigger the hole in your bead is going to be. So I happened to have a whole bunch of these on hand in several different sizes, so I tried them out. I was really unable to get, I think it was this one. I had a hard time with the bigger ones. I thought the skinnier ones would be harder because you have to cut them in half lengthwise. And I thought the skinny ones were going to be really hard, but it was the big one that gave me the trouble. Probably because I don't have the hand strength to cut it really good. And the only thing that I did different, if you go and watch the how-to video, she shows you how to lay down the skewer, and then she just uses like a utility knife and she kind of pokes holes down it. Well, you know, you cut them in half, and you could even cut them in thirds because they don't really need to be that long. These, in fact, are probably just a little bit too long. So, you know, you don't need a whole lot of one. Cut it down, and then, you know, poke holes straight as you can down one side of the little skewer thing, and that kind of scores it and just helps you to be able to kind of open that up. And she just kind of poked the holes and then pried it open. I really just kind of poked the holes and then scored it, and then that gave my knife a groove to sit in and made it easier to cut. So it wasn't as difficult as I thought it was going to be. The only thing that I did differently is I soaked my skewers in some hot water for, I don't know, 30 minutes maybe, probably 30 minutes or more before I cut them. And I did that just to soften them up some and make them easier to cut. And it really did seem to help quite a bit because they were easy to cut. They didn't splinter too badly. You know, they're going to a little bit because it's cheap wood. But that's the only thing I did different than she did in the cutting process. So get you some skewers or dowels, skinny dowels, or toothpicks, whatever. You need to cut them in half or in thirds, like that, and then take your little section and slice it right down the middle. After you do that, just do what she does on her video. She shows you to kind of sand them, and I did that. I sanded mine, and I put a little varnish on them too, just a light coat of varnish, and then sanded down the varnish with some steel wool. So, you know, the two sides, they don't have to fit just exact, so don't worry about sanding them so much that it's not an exact fit. That's not a big deal. They just need to be fairly tight and smooth. And don't worry if your two sides are not exactly the same. All of mine, there's usually one that's skinnier than the other, because it's hard to cut those little skinny things in half like that. I'm telling you. And if you want to use a little Dremel with a little saw blade or something on it, or clamp it down, make it easier, whatever, do what you need to. From there, all you'll need is a bead or two, and on the tutorial video, I think she uses one large bead. She has some wooden beads or something. And on some of mine, I've just got one big bead, but I find that I like two. And, sometimes you find that one fits better on one end than it does the other. Yeah, these are pretty good. Okay, the reason I like two is so that I can take one off, and I like to have one that fits kind of tight and then one that's easier to slide off and on, and it just makes it easier to slide your bead paper in. You go from there, and then you can, you can start rolling right here, but if you have a second bead to put on, that just kind of helps to hold your paper for you. So, it's not really, really tight, but it does make it a little bit easier to get started. And then you can use your little bead as a handle to turn it, but I find that I just like to grab hold of the stick and turn it. I don't know, I feel like I have more control. But you can see that right away, it catches on, and then you don't have to hold your bead on there. You just start rolling. This is just so much easier than trying to hold it onto a toothpick or onto the pokey tool thing. And I did find one thing that I had to do. I got everything done. I cut my skewers in half. I put a little varnish on them. I sanded them. I raided my bead collection and found these beads. And I started making a couple of the beads and found that I couldn't slide them off. They were getting stuck on my skewers. And it was about driving me crazy because I didn't know what in the heck I had done wrong. And I'm not sure what it was. I don't know if I didn't sand them enough. I took them out and resanded them. I used some steel wool and got after them really good. And then decided to try, okay, what do you do when something sticks? Daddy Vans. And it's made for wood. So I just took all of them. I rubbed some Daddy Vans into them. I haven't had a sticking problem since. So if you try this, you use the bamboo skewers and you find that your beads are getting stuck, they're kind of hard to slide off, get after them with some Daddy Vans or rub them with a candle if that's all you have, just wax them. That seemed to do the trick just fine. And I went through it's like 1 in the morning. I am not really coherent. Of course, I'm not really coherent any time of day, but I'm going to use that excuse for my weirdness right now. Okay. I just raided my bead stash and, just kept sticking the skewers into beads until I found ones that fit like I wanted them to. If you don't have beads, or you don't have any big hole beads like this, you're not out of luck. You can still make this work. You can use a toothpick or a skewer and just wrap one end of it with some string or some thread or something just to hold that end together, and that's really all you need. Like I said, this second bead is optional. So this is really doable. All of us should have at least some of the supplies on hand. So, and I use skewers. These are actually a couple of different sizes. It may be hard to tell. I think those two are the same. Yeah, this one is a little bit smaller than this one. So I've got a couple different sizes. And then the toothpick one, which I find I don't really like so much. I mean, it works fine. It's really too short to put another bead on the end. So I just leave it. I leave it open. Okay, let's get it going. And maybe it's because, you know, without this big bead on the end, it would be difficult to kind of do, but I'm just not used to holding a handle, holding that end bead. It's weird. I want to grab hold of the stick, but there's not enough room. I cut these strips of paper on my paper cutter that needs a new blade, so there's all kinds of little hairy edges. But that's okay. I really don't mind that. That's just bonus texture. There we go. Easy breezy. Ta-da! Okay, this one, I put a big bead on one end and then a smaller one there. And let's do a big one so you can see. Because these can sometimes be unwieldy. Is that the right word? Unwieldy? I think it is. So put it in. Put a little bead on to kind of help hold it. Takes about 2 or 3 turns to get it going, and then you're good. You just kind of guide it as you turn and keep going. I've not glued my big beads on, which I probably should, so I'm kind of thinking they're going to fall off at any moment. But this is much easier on the hands. I don't have to hold on so tight. You know, I can hold on much looser because I'm not worried about the thing falling off. And there we go. So, quick, easy, cheap, mine was totally free because I had the stuff, way to make your own bead rolling tools in just about any size you want. You know, unless you want really, really teeny, then you probably have to buy one of the commercial ones, because I don't see me being able to cut anything smaller than this toothpick in half, because this was not fun. But there you go. Easy to do. Go visit Rose Princess's website and check out her instructions for making your own bead tool, and then just go to town.